Peace, Shine family, it's Kyle King here, your lead instructor for Fire Your Boss and Hire Yourself. We have made it to lesson 12 on proper hiring and onboarding. In lesson 6, we talked about the effective strategies, methodologies, trips and tips and skills and strategies, all these different things about building a winning team. We use examples from coaching to sports to all of these different things, all of the characteristics that you should be looking for in terms of being coachable, being humble, and being self-motivated people, and then also the steps to vetting these people. But I believe that once you understand the concepts, ideologies, and theory behind how to build the team, once you have these people in place, there's steps, there's strategies, and methodologies to successfully and effectively bringing these people onto your organization and proper hiring and onboarding them. So the objective of this lesson is to give you 4 C's that are so critical, so vital, and keys to proper hiring and onboarding. So C number 1, step number 1, is the big thing that we all like to stay away from, and that's compliance. Compliance is really as simple as understanding company rules, understanding company policies, understanding company regulations, understanding the dress code, the clock in, clock out procedures. I'm gonna write all these down for you. So dress code, policies, regulations, clock in and out procedures. And I think there was one more that I noted. Some of the overall, maybe the government policies. So these could be legalities as well. And this depends on the industry or the team that you're building, the organization that you're building as well. So I think that people have a misconception of overall compliance. And I'm going to give you an example of an overall compliance policy regulation issue that I faced early on in my career. When I was graduating college, as you probably know by watching previous lessons, if you've read my book, right, that you know this. One of my biggest experiences, one of my biggest failures is getting fired from my first job out of college. At the time, I was working for Johnson & Johnson at Janssen Biotech Pharmaceuticals. I was one of few students that got selected for this program. It was going to be a rotational program, and I was not compliant. I did not follow the policies and regulations. And how I did it was I was spending money on personal expenses on a corporate card, the corporate Amex card, or if you don't know what Amex is, American Express, the credit card that we were able to use or able to have, or they gifted us for business purchases, for the doctor's offices that I visit, for potential gas if I was traveling, to book hotel travels or airline travels, all of these different things, all of the expenses that I use personally, personal expenses, created an expense for the company. They made me expendable when I thought that personal expenses on a professional or a corporate card could outwork, or outmanipulate the policies and regulations that they have already set as an organization. One thing that I want you to realize as an entrepreneur, or if you're an employee, that the company policies and regulations weren't developed for you. They were developed as a part of the overall company culture, as a part of the overall things, the do's and the don'ts. In our lesson 6, when we were talking about building a team, we talked about those clear expectations. We talked about those boundaries for you not to cross. So in your organization, I need you to write down, what are the policies, what are the regulations, what are the things that we're not going to allow our employees to do? What is the dress code? As you can see me, I don't expect for I don't like to call them employees, all of my team members, all of my partners to wear what I wear. But as the chief executive officer and as my executive team, I expect and I require and the standard that I've created for my organization, if you are a part of the executive team and going out and communicating on behalf of this organization, then I need you to look like scholars. I need you to look a certain way. Now, that may be different for different organizations. If you run a daycare, I wouldn't expect for everyone in my son's daycare to be in three-piece suits every day. That wouldn't be comfortable. Now, you have to create that dress code, because if you don't have a dress code, then this is what's going to happen. People are going to come in with shorts one day, with flip-flops, with biker shorts, flip-flops, a hoodie on, or a tube top, and then you're going to be looking at them. It's like, what are you wearing to work? And they didn't see anything in the company policy, and the company regulations, and the team handbook, and the company handbook, and the employee handbook that said anything about that we can't wear tube tops. So they're going to, instead of people testing the waters, instead of you having to create boundaries or company policies or regulations for people, why don't you, as a part of the developmental process of your business, think through all of the company policies? And I'm going to give you those today through the 4 C's. So what are the dress codes? What are the clock in and clock out procedures? I've worked with different people that have after school programs, that have actual corporations, that have smaller businesses that don't have a clock in and clock out procedure. This could be as simple as when you walk through the door, just right on your time. When you go to a doctor's office, a dentist's office, some barber shops, they have what time did you get in and what time did you leave. They have an entry and exit policy that they like to follow. I need you to implement a clock in and clock out procedure. There's systems out there with different payment systems that have these as automated systems where they can digitally log in and log out. There's a paper sheet that you can get them to write in and write in their time and write their time that they leave. But then I want you to also understand the different legalities and government policies that you need to instill as a part of your business. Now, personally, me, as a part of compliance, if you work in the financial industry, compliance is key. You want to stay compliant in the things that you're marketing, and the things that you're saying, and the things that you're communicating with different clients that are getting your financial advice. In all industries, there's certain compliance rules that you should follow. There's certain insurances that you should have for your business. This is, you know what? Understanding the policies and regulations is the insurance for your business not getting sued. That's how we're going to look at it. When people are compliant, they won't get fired. So that's their insurance. When your business is compliant to government policies, you won't get sued, or you won't have to go through any of these legalities that could potentially rise. This is playing defense. You know what? Not even defense. This is playing offense, so that you don't really have to play defense. This is outscoring before you get scored on. You know what I mean? So that's the first C, understanding compliance. Compliance is so key, because I want you to also write the boundaries, the policies and regulations, and then I also want you to write the potential regulations or the consequences. So I think a lot of times we read employee handbooks, and there's all of these rules and regulations and all these different things, but it misses the consequence of the regulation. So yes, it's great to have the regulation that you have to do A, B, and C, but what is the consequence if you do not follow A, B, and C? What are the steps? So is the first step a warning? Is the second step a meeting? And then you're out of there? So then you get fired or exited from the company? What is your offboarding process? You know what I mean? So is the first step maybe a meeting? And then you get another warning. And then you get another warning, and then you get fired. So what is that process, that one step maybe there's not a meeting. Maybe you're the type of boss or the type of person that it's like, look, I need you to read the employee handbook. If you don't follow the steps or the rules or the regulations, you're fired. It could be that. Or you don't have to read it if you don't want to, but if you don't do what I ask, you're fired. Different businesses do different things, but I would recommend that good businesses set up a require employees to read the handbook and require the handbook. Go through it with them. Maybe have a meeting with your new hires and go through it with them. Then the next step is a warning. Maybe written, just to hold them accountable, like, look, we understand that you did it like this, we require it like this, And then with the written, this is what I do. I would meet with them. Meet one-on-one. Let's go over this. Or get someone else to meet with one-on-one so you don't have to meet with them. Now, if that doesn't work and they do it again, I would give another warning. And then the boss meet with them one-on-one. Or not even just one-on-one, I would say two-on-one, where the boss and their direct manager, their DM, their direct manager. The third step would be suspension with no pay, because I think that would hit the jugular for people, and then they would get fired. I think that is an ethical way and how we practice at our organization. You require them to read the handbook, maybe set up a meeting with your new hires where we're actually going over the handbook, because there's not a lot of cases where people actually read the handbook. Then you write them a written warning and then meet with them one-on-one with the direct manager that they report to. The third step would be another written warning, and then you meet with the boss and then the direct manager, so maybe you and the direct manager, and then I would suspend them with no pay, and then they would be terminated from the organization. I think that is a good 4 or 5 step process that you could take, depending on your business model or depending on what you do, but I think that's very important. Number 2, number 2 is clarification. Clarification. I want you to clarify contributions, clarify expectations. I want you to clarify consequences. And then I want you to clarify actions. In this order. Or it doesn't have to be in this order. I need you to clarify what you expect people to contribute to your organization. What type, like this is going back to lesson 6 with building a winning team. I need you to be clear, direct, and precise with these people. Simple. Clear, direct, and precise with these people, with your organization or your team. The second step is those expectations. What do you expect? What don't you expect? What is this contribution is value? What is value and what does winning look like? What does that actually look like? What does the expectations? This is boundaries. Now, if you don't follow these 2, what are the consequences? What could potentially happen? If you're raising a child, you're going to go over, look, this is what a good student, a good child, in my opinion, looks like. This is what I expect you to do when you're in public, because you're a representation of this family and yourself and your parents. And then if you do not follow these contributions and expectations, these boundaries that we have set in front of you, then there's going to be these consequences. It's going to be a 3-step process. You know what I mean? And then I think there's actions that you need to clarify as well. You have to be able to get them to act accordingly to the company culture. Another step would be, this is important, but I think in terms of onboarding and hiring, I think something that is important is company culture. You need to clarify the company culture or the company structure. So I'm going to say the company structure. I need you to clarify the leadership. And this is leadership in terms of who's in charge. Who's in charge? So one quick tip in terms of just professionalism 101. If you report to Johnny and Johnny reports to Phil and Phil reports to Sandy, I don't want when a problem comes up, you report straight to Sandy. Your direct boss is Johnny. You need to follow the chain of command to be able to get that problem resolved. Now, if the problem doesn't get resolved with Johnny, then you maybe send an email and CC Johnny on it, but send it to Phil. Now, if the problem still doesn't get resolved, then CC Johnny and Phil, and then send it to Sandy. You want to be a professional at the end of the day. Like, it's not about going straight to the source. This isn't the streets, people. This is corporate America, and this is creating corporate culture within your organization as well. So you want to be able to follow the chains and have people and require them to follow these chains of command as well, just like we would be in the military as well. So The next thing is leadership. This is like who's in charge? Who's in charge of what? Who is responsible as what? Who do I report to? A lot of times in organizations, you get brought in and then I'm reporting to the CEO of the company when I realize that I just got to report to the HR manager or the marketing director. Like, have a company structure. Like, what is the company structure? Like, all right, this is the CEO, and then the administrative assistant, and then the direct manager. Like, create some type of company structure of who reports to who, and then under that structure, have a roles and responsibilities. I'm gonna just put roles and RESP, responsibilities to what these people should be doing. That's something that the CEO should be doing. That's something that the person watching this video should be doing. You should create a company structure and then create all of the different positions, and then what are these positions supposed to be doing? What are the expectations of these positions? What is the potential pay of these positions? If you go ahead and do that, then you'll have the processes and personnel to be able to fill these positions instead of you kind of just going out on a whim and then just hiring people based upon need and not based upon skill set or the expectation to be able to follow what you need as a business. So clarification is key. You want to be able to clarify the value that your organization or the people within your organization are bringing to the table. Clarify the expectations, clarify the consequences, and clarify the steps that they should be taking in terms of who are they reporting to, who are they communicating with, who is on their team or their group or within their pod. All of these different things are important. Step 3 is, like I continue to say, is culture. Company culture. So if we look at company culture, there's 3 keys that I want you to write down. So norms, there's ethics, and the third step I like to say is we're gonna put leadership. Expectation. And expectation is gonna keep coming up and keep coming up and keep coming up because you want to really be able to align expectation of leaders as well. So when we think of company culture, what are the norms of the culture? We talked about dress code a little bit earlier, but is it kind of one of those we just kind of chilling out, we talk, we collaborate? Is it like a real serious company culture? Like you don't kind of talk to the person to your left or to your right? When we're in board meetings, is it more so of a collaborative, or we just wait for the CEO to speak and then we get our direction? You got to figure out the company culture. And I think how you eliminate challenges by effectively communicating culture. Like, what do you guys expect? What are the unspoken norms? Like, look, we understand in the dress code that it doesn't kind of say wear suits every single day. It says business casual, but the bosses here require kind of us to wear suits with a tie on. So you want to be able to create a culture of collaboration amongst your team and amongst your staff, because I'm going to tell you this now. The company culture in educational systems is completely different than the company culture on Wall Street. It's a dog eats dog, shark eats shark, whereas it's more collaborative within an educational institution. Google may be a little bit different than Microsoft. You know what I mean? So you want to be able to create a company culture, and this goes back to the job of the CEO, to the job of the person seeing this video. What culture do you want your company to be? Do you want a workplace that everyone loves? Or do you want a workplace that is kind of like, hey, it's very direct, we're getting our job done and we're leaving and going home? Do you want a company culture that, we're going out on weekends, we're spending time, we're doing all these different things? Or it's kind of like, hey, this relationship ends when 5 o'clock gets here? Do you want a bell to ring? Oh, it's the end of the day. Or do you kind of want people to kind of slowly migrate out and after they're doing their job? One thing that I recommend is create a culture that you would like to work for. If you are working, I want you to create a company culture that you would want to work for, and then still get still perform within your organization, still be productive within your organization, still achieve within your organization. But how can you create a company culture that everyone loves to come to work and everyone is feeling supported, feeling supported, feeling empowered, feeling inspired, and likes to come to work every day? And then the third thing is leadership, but I really want to talk about ethics because these things come into the same bucket. Ethics is important. We talked about all of these different things, compliance. What types of values do your employees or does your team have? We don't want people that are experts with ego problems. We don't want people that are not honest, that do not operate in integrity, that are disrespectful. Like, what are the ethics, the values of your organization? I need you to write that down as well. Do you want a family type environment, or do you want like everything's competition type environment? Like, what type of environment? Because then that goes right back to leadership, because you have to have leaders that come in and align with ethics, and then also hold the norms accountable. If you have a norm that you wear suits with ties, you don't want to bring a leader in that wears shorts or not even shorts. That's just ridiculous. But jeans and a polo. It just doesn't make sense. So you want leaders to align in ethics, and then also with the spoken norms, and then also with the unspoken norms, so that you can eliminate challenges by designing a company culture that works for you and your organization. And the fourth point, as we close, is, like I like to say, connectivity or connection. So we'll just put connection. How's that? Connection. Connection can be broken down into networking ops. Could be broken down into relationships. And I'm gonna throw a wrench in it. I want connections and community. So one thing that works well for my organization, I require my staff to do community service projects. I think that we're gonna start here first. Service is key to true leadership. You'll find out who your true leaders are by don't make it mandatory at first. Make not mandatory community service projects and see who shows up. Because those people that are serving the community are going to be the same people that truly would want to serve your organization. This is key. Connect with the community around us. We're not just in this workplace and then we don't serve the people that truly need it. I need you to get into a mindset of figuring out ways that your organization, your operation, your community, your company can serve the community. Second is, what type of connection and relationships do your staff have? Now, that can also be in the company policies and regulations if, being very transparent, if staff members can date, if staff members can have intimate relationships. These are things that you have to really think through, because if you're spending 8, 9, 10 hours of your time with a person every single day, and you do begin to get attracted to this person, there could be other consequences, maybe positive consequences, that could come from that. You know what I mean? So you have to write these things down, because what you would not want to do is people do begin to date within your organization, and then they bring their issues in the work environment, and now it creates performance issues, revenue issues, and then you have to take people down that offboarding process because these things weren't clearly defined and the expectations weren't written out. These are actually things that you have to think about. And a lot of people don't think about these things because those are the hard truths that people don't date in the workplace, but people do. So you want to be able to not be biased, not be just don't be biased. Don't be unrealistic, and really think through all of the potential things that could come up. And then networking. I think networking, in my experience, has been the major thing that allows my organization to grow exponentially. Allowing people to network with different departments, allowing people to maybe shadow different departments, because that connectivity between organizations and departments will help with the overall flow of the organization. If I can understand how the marketing department works as an HR professional, or the sales department, all of us working in tandem, if I need anything in terms of marketing, the sales can reach out. All of these different things are helping your organization as a whole. So in terms of networking, provide networking opportunities. Maybe once a month, have a networking event at your company or organization, or at a nearby restaurant, or maybe a park. Or what you could do is create the networking opportunity as the community service project, where different people are coming together from different departments to be able to collectively share ideas, what they do, what their values are, so that they can develop relationships. I think it's so important. Those 4 C's again are, number 1, compliance. Make sure that people have make sure you have the necessary rules, regulations, and policies, and then also government policies in place. Number 2 is clarification. Just be clear on those expectations. Be direct and straightforward with these people. Number 3 is company culture. Culture is about you. Like, what vision do you have with your organization? What is the script that you would want your organization to be in terms of dress code and all these different things, clock in, clock out procedures, and then create those norms within your organization. And then C, number 4, is connection through relationships, community, and networking opportunities. I thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next lesson.